Ham-ha! This is Hamtaro Ham-Hams United on the Game Boy Color. This is a shocky little game that stands out on my Game Boy Color library, mainly because it's just so different from everything else. You gotta understand, my Game Boy Color library is one or two RPGs, a couple adventure games, and some arcade stuff. It's all very, more or less, fast-paced and active gaming. Whereas this is more like a combination amalgam of adventure games. It's a lot slower paced, but it's also a lot more accessible and, well, not nowhere near as challenging as any other game on my Game Boy Color library. It's just a nice feel-good game. Now, the plot of Hamtaro Ham-Hams Unite is, I'm guessing, based off the anime and manga series. I'm not that familiar with it. I watched the first episode because back in the day it was originally introduced by the hosts of The Zone, dating me immediately, as battling robot hamsters. And I said, I gotta get me in on that. And it was nothing like that, which taught me that the people of The Zone probably never actually watched their shows, and they certainly never scripted anything, which, you know, might actually be one of my inspirations for not scripting anything myself. But regardless, the whole plot centers around the titular, although you can rename him, Hamtaro. He is tasked with gathering the various members of the Ham-Hams, his hamster group of Rudies, who are, I guess once they reunite, going to go tag up Ham Tokyo To and claim their territory back from the GGs. Actually, they're probably more likely just gonna have like a little dance party, but the Ham-Ham leader boss tasks Hamtaro to do it because he can't be asked. Which leads to a very quizzical tutorial that is both way too long and also not long enough. See, when you're first introduced to this tutorial, they teach you 4 basic commands. They teach you how to greet other hamsters, they teach you how to dig up items, they teach you how to somersault into things, and finally they teach you how to sniff. These 4 key components are going to be the bread and butter of how you interact with the world around you. And it takes way too long for them to actually teach you this. And the most baffling thing about it is there's 4 other skills you inherently start out with that they completely don't mention. You can sharpen your claws on objects, climb up objects in the background, bite things, and offend literally everyone around you by urinating. Because that's a thing you can do, despite there not being much of a point of it. Which kind of makes this tutorial a little weird. They ignore key components that honestly, until I was forced to actually figure out through trial and error what they were, just weren't ever listed anywhere. And yet, they take forever just explaining half the skills you start out with. It's really mind-boggling why they did it this way. But either way, you are sent out into the world of Sunflower Town, because everything is named Sunflower for some reason, off on your quest to rescue the Ham-Hams. Now, kinda like I said, this isn't really a heavily action-based game or anything. Its gameplay is actually lent together by 2 old-school adventure game styles. But let's just make something clear right now. We're talking LucasArts grade adventure games. None of that mind torture that was mostly the fault of Roberta Williams. No. We're talking good stuff that you can't completely fail by stepping 4 steps in the wrong direction. In fact, there's no real failure state in this game. Now, that's not to say there isn't any challenge, there certainly is, but you're not going to be punished for doing the wrong thing. Worst case scenario, you either look like a complete fool by slipping on a banana peel or falling in some mud, or you simply don't have the tools necessary at the time to complete the objective, in which case you have to go explore all over the place and find everything else you need to complete said puzzle. But it's inherently a very simple game. You wander around the environment, you explore, you interact with it, trying to solve various puzzles, as well as find the various Ham-Hams located throughout the world, because they are kind of hidden. And once you've found him, well, that's not really the end of your problems, because suddenly the biggest mechanic of this game sort of rears its head. Vocabulary. Yeah, see, at the beginning of the game, Boss starts teaching you some basic moves, but he teaches you them through the medium of ham chat, this super radical new way hamsters are talking that will absolutely never go out of style because it's just that gosh darn tubular. Word up, hamsters. The thing about this is you are basically running around the environment through a standard point-and-click adventure style format. However, once you actually get to a puzzle, it shifts to a text-based adventure style, with the only difference being that where you have to apply the various vocabularies you've learned to either solve problems or convince other hamsters of what you need them to do. And I think that's sort of genuinely fascinating. Sure, the system itself doesn't make a lot of sense in universe, because 99% of all hamsters are already speak in proper English, and in fact one or two actually make fun of you for using Hamchat in the start, but at the very least it sort of gives context as to why you have to learn these various different words and stuff. You just don't know them because I guess it's just a fresh way to talk. So it kinda works in a weird sort of way. And what's really neat is the various different aspects of your Hamchat that get added to your little dictionary don't just include the terms themselves, they include unique individual animations that sort of give you an idea of what you're trying to convey just through a visual medium. And I think that's a pretty clever thing to do. That said, it's not always super clear what's being asked of you. For example, I ran into this one hamster who wanted me to play with a strawberry for some reason, and like every other hamster, it brings up like the 4 initial prompts that you always get. Now, most hamsters, after you get past those initial 4 prompts that you're taught at the beginning, tend to fold down to another potential maximum of 8 prompts, where you can apply the new terms you've learned as you expand the conversation. This guy did not, and more importantly, even though he did not, what he was asking wasn't exactly clear. In fact, I had to trial and error my way through pretty much all of my text prompts until I got the fact that he wanted me to headbutt the thing by sniffing the air. That's a little esoteric for my taste. And to be fair, there are a few cases of this where you just have to sort of abstractly apply whatever various Hamchats you've learned in order to solve whatever puzzle there is, even if there isn't one that's immediately apparent. In fact, I got stuck on like 3 or 4 that I could not for the life of me figure out how to solve this problem. So it's not like the game doesn't come with challenge, there certainly is that there, but the biggest way to solve this is just to continue exploring, talk to the less important non-named hamsters, and try and expand your vocabulary so once you finally do find the hamsters you're looking for, when they challenge you to, solve their problem with the extra vocabulary bits, you actually have them. And that makes this both a clever adventure game and just a great game in terms of exploration, and the fact that it's such a calm and soothing environment and there's not really any risk of danger or failure or anything means that you both have challenge, but you're also allowed to take your time and figure out things logically, or just figure out how this game's sort of insane adventure game logic works. Although, that said, it's also one of the more clear adventure games I've played, so that's nice too. In short, I think the gameplay itself to Hamtaro is well-paced and pretty solid. The maps are, overall, relatively decent in size, and there's lots to explore and figure out how to interact with the world in some ways that you wouldn't necessarily even initially think of. And I think that's definitely appreciated. In short, I think the gameplay is pretty bestest, and I give it a clap because I want more. It's a great game, and I think the concept of expanding the way you explore this world through the use of your vocabulary and your emotes are really clever. Now, there is one problem with the gameplay I have, and it's not even something that really makes me blue-hoo, but it might affect you. See, the thing about this game is, it's not very mega Q. I managed, in my first single hour of recording this game, get about halfway through. And that's the unfortunate thing, is it is fairly teeny. It could be a lot more sizable than it is, but I think the gameplay more than makes up for the fact that it could be a lot more sizable, because it's just that damn fun, and it's honestly very, very charming. Now, the overall presentation to Hamtaro Ham Unite is pretty bestest. Visually, it's very Koochi-Q. There's tons of little details in pretty much every room you go into. One time you might walk into this one room and suddenly just trip and splash yourself in a puddle. Or maybe the next time you trip on a rock or slip on a banana peel, or you get chased by a snake, or like you walk past a cat and it notices you and you just run away. There's so much visual charm to this game, and I just freaking love it. And like I said, each one of your little Hamchats has its own unique, dedicated animation. That's a lot of dedication just to presentation, just in the visual department alone. And every area in this game feels like it has its own unique personality. Going to the market feels significantly different than, say, going to the Sky Garden. But no matter where you go, you definitely feel like you're roughly the size of a hamster. And I think that's pretty awesome in terms of an overall visual theme. And the overall sound design to this is very blissy. It's very, very soft and charming. It's suitable, it's not stressful. It wants you to know this is a game where you can sit down, take your time, and just enjoy the world around you. And it absolutely does it well. Overall, I just have to clap the presentation of this game because it is clearly bestest. Now, if you want a copy of Hamtaro Ham Unite, on the Game Boy Color. It'll cost you about $15 to $20, and like I said, it's not necessarily the most sizable game out there. And for $20, I think that's a pretty solid done deal. And right now I should probably mention that I did not pay for my copy. This channel received it as a giftie from my Koochi-Q Hammo, and I have got to appreciate her taste in games. Seriously, the box of trades we made has had quite a few little interesting ones. This one, I'm not going to say it's my favorite, because Run Saber's in there, and that game was awesome, but this one that I've played thus far, it's a good runner-up. It's a completely different game. It's more casual, it's more just nice and soft, and, you know, take your time, just enjoy the world, no rush, no worries, or anything like that. It's a great game for what it is, and honestly, I enjoyed it enough that I want to pursue the sequels this game got. There were many. I mean, this one is in and of itself the second one in a series, although it's the first one we got in North America. We also got Hamtaro Ham Heartbreak on the Game Boy Advance, which I saw a boxed copy of once, and I was kind of always curious about it. That's actually why I was so thrilled to finally be able to play this game, because I always wondered about that game, and I passed it up, and honestly it kind of haunts me now. But this game is a lot of fun. If you're just getting into games, or you like old school adventure games, or you really just want a nice, comfy, feel-good game, this game is absolutely going to be your kind of game, because Hamtaro, the quest for the completed made-up language dictionary, is a lot of fun. And it's fun to just explore and see how interacting with this world affects the world. Basically, if you ever wanted to play as a hamster, this one's pretty Hercule in that regard. And honestly, while there were tons of hamster games in Japan, there weren't that many in North America. So I think this is definitely one worth considering. Anyway, bye Q!